There is a moment that arrives quietly when you stop waiting for the world to notice you. It's not dramatic. There's no applause. No one claps when you realize the truth. The truth is this: nobody cares about you the way you imagine they do, and far from being a tragedy, that realization is liberation. You see, most of us grow up believing that if we hurt enough, someone will notice, that if we cry loud enough, someone will rescue us, that if we just phrase it the right way, someone will finally understand us. But life shows us something else. It shows us unanswered calls, empty rooms, silence where comfort should have been, and in that silence, something ancient stirs, a kind of strength that doesn't beg, that doesn't explain, that doesn't depend on recognition. It's the beginning of self-reliance. It's the point where the search for validation dies and the pursuit of real power begins. This channel isn't about quick tricks or empty comfort. It's about what the Stoics knew long before us, that the world's indifference can either crush you or free you, and freedom begins the moment you stop expecting to be rescued. If you're here, it's because some part of you is ready for that freedom, ready to stop building your life around applause and start building it around truth, the kind of truth that doesn't fade when the room is empty, the kind of strength that doesn't collapse when no one is watching. So consider subscribing, not as a favor to me, but as a vow to yourself, a vow to stop chasing recognition and start cultivating discipline, clarity, and self-respect. Because here, we don't perform for attention. We build what the world can't ignore, not with noise, not with begging, but with silence that sharpens into strength. By the end of this video, you'll understand why being unseen is not a curse, why being overlooked may be the very thing that sets you free, and why the power you've been waiting for has been in your hands all along. Number 1. The first power in realizing nobody cares about you is that it kills entitlement. Most of us walk around with a hidden expectation that if we are good enough, kind enough, hurt enough, the world will step in, acknowledge us, reward us. But the world is too busy carrying its own weight. People are consumed by their own storms, their own pain, their own survival. Your suffering isn't a headline in their life, it's background noise. And if you wait for them to rescue you, you will stay stuck forever. The moment you see this clearly, something shifts. You stop asking why. No one sees you. You stop making your pain a billboard that begs for attention. Instead, you turn inward and you ask a harder question. What am I going to do now that I know no one is coming? That is where real growth begins. Because when you stop expecting help, you stop wasting energy waiting. You start using that same energy to act, to build, to move, to change your direction without permission. The Stoics knew this long ago. Epictetus said, "Do not explain your philosophy, embody it." What does that mean here? It means stop explaining your pain in hopes of sympathy and start embodying resilience, without waiting for applause. Every day you live this way is a day you reclaim power from the world's indifference. You stop outsourcing your healing and your worth. You take responsibility, not because it's fair, but because it's yours. This doesn't mean you can't accept love or support when it comes. It means you no longer depend on it to function. It means you don't make your movement conditional on being seen. You do the work whether the room is full or empty. You rise whether the world claps or stays silent. You train yourself to see value, not in recognition, but in discipline. Not in how much others notice, but in how much you respect yourself. When nobody cares about you, the illusion of entitlement dies, and in its place, a harder, cleaner truth is born, that you are responsible for yourself, that you are the architect of your days, that waiting is just another form of surrender. And once you understand this deeply, you stop surrendering. You start becoming number 2. The second power in knowing nobody cares about you is that it forces you to stop performing. Most people live their lives as a stage play. They edit their words, they smile on cue, they soften their truth. Not because it's real, but because they're terrified of being rejected. Every interaction becomes a performance, every decision shaped by an invisible audience. But here's the truth, the audience is not watching. They are too wrapped in their own dramas to study yours. And the moment you accept this, the performance dies. When the performance dies, something honest begins you. Start to speak from clarity, not from fear. You stop curating your life for others and begin creating it for yourself. Your boundaries get sharper, your values more visible. You move differently, not because people approve, but because it feels true. And that shift is freedom in its purest form. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself daily, waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one. This applies to women as much as men. Waste no more time proving who you are. Be who you are, without the makeup of performance, without the costume of approval, without the props of validation. When nobody cares about you, the pressure to impress evaporates, and what remains is the raw substance of your character. This is uncomfortable at first, because when you stop performing, you will lose some people. You will be misunderstood. You will be called distant, cold, even arrogant. But what you are really becoming is honest, and honesty is not always palatable to those who live on performance. They will miss the version of you that bent to fit their comfort. But you will not miss the exhaustion of carrying that mask. When nobody cares about you, you realize you don't need to play the game anymore. You don't need to decorate your struggle for sympathy. You don't need to make yourself small so others feel large. You can walk into silence and not flinch. You can move without broadcasting your every step, and in that stillness you gain something rare. Self-respect. The kind that isn't borrowed from applause, but built in solitude. That is the gift of being unseen. It kills the performance and leaves only the truth. Number 3. The third power in realizing nobody cares about you is that it forces you to build resilience. Life is heavy, and no one is carrying it for you. When you believe someone will save you, you stay fragile. You make your survival dependent on attention, and the moment that attention is gone, you collapse. But when you accept that nobody is coming, you begin to harden in the right way, not bitter, not closed off, but steady. You learn to bear what once broke you. Resilience doesn't grow in comfort, it grows in silence. It grows in the nights no one texts back. In the mornings you get up without motivation. In the small acts that no one witnesses, you lift your own weight, and in that lifting, you change. The pain that once crushed you becomes training. The rejection that once defined you becomes fuel. Every unanswered call, every overlooked effort is a repetition in the gym of the mind, and slowly you stop breaking at the same places. Seneca said, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." When you stop expecting the world to care, you stop feeding that imagination. You stop creating stories of betrayal in every silence. You stop thinking every lack of response is proof of your worthlessness. You see it for what it is, people, absorbed in their own battles. And when you see this clearly, your suffering reduces, because you no longer add weight by believing lies about why you're unseen. Resilience is not about becoming numb. It's about becoming capable. It's knowing you can walk through the storm alone and still stand when it passes. It's the quiet confidence that even if no one checks in, you will check on yourself. That even if no one applauds, you will still do the work. This is not cruelty. It is power. Because the one who no longer needs to be carried can finally move freely. When nobody cares about you, you either collapse or you strengthen. And when you choose strength, the world changes. You stop being hostage to others' attention. You stop waiting for the right support. You become the support you always wanted. And from that moment forward, you are no longer fragile. You are forged. Number 4, the fourth power in knowing nobody cares about you is that it teaches you to master your focus. Attention is the most valuable currency in the world. Most people spend it on worrying who notices them, who likes them, who validates them. And because of that, they scatter their energy into 1,000 meaningless directions. But when you finally accept that no one is watching you stop wasting fuel, you begin to see how much time you lost performing for eyes that weren't even looking. When the hunger for attention dies, concentration sharpens. You begin to pour yourself fully into what matters, your work, your health, your inner life. Discipline no longer feels like punishment, it feels like freedom, because you are no longer leaking energy into fantasies of being seen. You are no longer daydreaming about applause that never comes. Your actions stop being a broadcast and start being a foundation. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it." Simple and sharp. When you live by that standard, your focus clears. You cut away distractions because you no longer need to keep up appearances. You no longer live reactively to the gaze of others. You live proactively to the truth, you know. And when you build this, where your life becomes precise, not scattered, not diluted, but directed like an arrow, most people will never know this clarity. They are forever waiting for their actions to be recognized before they believe they matter. But here is the truth. Recognition doesn't make the action valuable. The action itself carries value. The practice, the work, the repetition. These things sculpt you from the inside out. And when you live this way, focus becomes second nature. You stop craving the rush of likes or applause. You crave progress, you crave mastery, you crave alignment. Knowing nobody cares about you strips away distraction. It silences the imaginary audience in your head. It reminds you that your energy is yours to spend wisely, and when you choose to spend it on discipline rather than performance, your life compounds. Not with noise, not with fleeting validation, but with results that stand whether anyone sees them or not. That is the power of focus, and it begins the day you stop waiting to be noticed. Number 5, the fifth power in realizing nobody cares about you is that it strips away excuses. As long as you believe someone is coming to save you, you will always find a reason to wait. You will say, "I can't move forward," until they notice. Me, I can't succeed until they help me. I can't heal until they understand me. But when you face the cold truth that nobody is coming, the excuses collapse. You are left with only two options: act or stay. Stuck. Excuses are comfortable because they shift the weight onto others. It is easy to blame parents, partners, friends, society for why you are not where you want to be. It is harder to look in the mirror and accept responsibility, but the moment you do that, you gain power, because if it's truly someone else's fault, then you are trapped forever. If it is yours, you can change it. And that shift from blame to ownership is the doorway to freedom. Epictetus said we cannot choose our external circumstances, but we can always choose how we respond. That response is where your life is built. If you waste it making excuses, you waste your strength. If you use it to act, you take control. Even the smallest step forward is more powerful than the grandest excuse, because excuses build nothing. Action builds everything. When you drop excuses, you stop negotiating with weakness. You stop telling yourself you will start tomorrow. You stop saying if only things were different. You start dealing with reality as it is. And reality is the only place where progress happens, not in stories, not in fantasies, not in what could have been, only in what you are willing to do. Today, nobody cares about your excuses. The world doesn't pause for your explanations. And that is good, because once you realize no one is listening, you are free to stop talking and start building. You no longer waste time justifying your lack of movement. You begin moving. And the momentum that comes from that choice rewrites your entire life. When nobody cares about you, the weight is yours alone. And when the weight is yours, you discover you were strong enough to carry it all along. Number 6. The sixth power in realizing nobody cares about you is that it frees you from comparison. Most people measure themselves against others. They scroll, they watch, they measure their worth by likes, by status, by who seems ahead. And every time they do this, they cut their own strength in half. Comparison is a thief that convinces you you are behind, when really you are just on your own path. But when you accept that nobody cares about you, you stop running that race. You see clearly that no one is keeping score of your wins and losses. No one is charting your progress with the intensity you imagine. Everyone is too absorbed in their own struggle to obsess over yours, and this truth is liberating, because once you know no one is watching, you can stop competing for invisible approval. You can begin moving at your own pace, with your own standard. Seneca wrote, "True happiness is to enjoy the present without anxious dependence upon the future." Comparison is anxious dependence. It is the constant belief that your life must be measured against another's timeline. It is the sickness of needing to prove you are not falling behind. But when you drop that sickness, you begin to breathe again. You focus not on their race, but on your ground, your step, your stride. And with each step, the noise fades. Comparison dies when self-respect grows. And self-respect grows when you stop living as if others are grading your life. You realize you don't need to be better than them. You need to be better than you were yesterday. You don't need to outrun their progress. You need to keep walking your own road. This is not about arrogance. It is about clarity. It is about refusing to waste your energy on a scoreboard that doesn't exist. When nobody cares about you, you are finally free to care for yourself. You are free to move without performance, to build without fear of being behind, to define success, not by their applause, but by your alignment. And in that alignment you discover something rare. Peace that is not shaken by their rise or fall, peace that belongs only to you. Number 7. Nobody cares until it's done. The truth about effort is simple. Nobody's watching while you grind. Nobody's applauding while you struggle. Nobody's checking in to see if you're sticking with it at the beginning. It feels lonely. You're building in silence while the world scrolls past, distracted. You want recognition, but there's none. You want encouragement, but it doesn't come. And that's exactly how it's supposed to be, because here's the rule. People don't care about the journey. They care about the finish. They care when the book is written. They care when the business is launched. They care when the body is transformed. They care when the result is undeniable. Until then, all the sweat, the setbacks, the late nights, the lonely mornings, it's invisible, and that invisibility is the test. Can you keep moving when nobody notices? Can you hold faith in your work when there's no praise, no proof, no spotlight? Most people quit here. They want applause on day one. They want validation before they've earned it. They want people to care while the work is still fragile. But the world doesn't work that way. The world only respects finished products. So you keep going, quietly, patiently, ruthlessly. You let the silence forge you. You let the loneliness sharpen you. And when you finally break through, when the work is complete, when the results speak for themselves, suddenly everybody cares, but by then you won't need them to, because you'll already know you made it through the part nobody else could see. That's the seventh and final power of realizing nobody cares. It forces you to finish, to close the gap, to deliver, and once it's done, you don't need to demand respect. The work demands it for you. When you realize nobody cares, you stop performing. You stop talking for approval. You stop waiting for recognition. You stop living for the opinions of people who aren't coming to save you. Instead, you build, you move, you act. You finish. The silence that once felt heavy becomes fuel. The lack of attention becomes your advantage, because while others waste time talking, you're working. While others wait for validation, you're creating. And in the end, The paradox is this. Once you no longer need anyone to care, your results force them to. But by then, it won't matter because you'll already know who you are, what you can do, and what it took to get there. That's the ultimate power of nobody caring. It sets you free to do the work that changes everything.